Okay, what up, LSN students, and welcome to another fun-filled screencast. What you're looking at right now is a guided notes sheet that you will fill out as I explain this PowerPoint. The title of this very brief PowerPoint presentation is Campaigning in the United States, and we're going to talk about the different terminology and strategies that people who are running for office use while campaigning. Now, obviously, the big ones that we think about a lot is the presidential campaign, as you can see the two signs up on the screen. But there's also thousands of campaigns going on right now for the November elections for senators, representatives, mayors, judges, and a whole other slew of positions across the country. So the first term we're looking at here is platform. This is the overall group of policies of a political party or person. They take several different issues and kind of explain what they will do if elected on those issues. For example, I have Joe Biden's platform. Part of his platform is to increase taxes on the wealthier group of Americans. Another part of it is that he wants to increase the amount of clean energy we use in the United States. Campaign manager. This is a person who you don't really see very much, and they're not going to be very well known, but they have a very big role. Their job is to essentially make the person running for office more likable and more marketable. They also help to coordinate things like fundraising, advertising, polling, getting out the vote. And these candidates that we see run every year, they're products of planned marketing. Oftentimes when you see an ad on TV for Nike shoes or Coca-Cola or McDonald's or whatever, that ad is designed to convince you to buy that product. Well, the campaign manager and the campaign of a candidate, they're putting out ads and appearances to help you want to elect that person to office. I mentioned fundraising as well. Raising money is a huge part of modern politics. In fact, it's probably too big of a part of modern politics. Which ties in well with our next slide here, titled Campaign Finance, and that's all the money that's raised and spent when politicians run for public office, especially at the upper levels. So when you're running for Senate or the House of Reps, and at the top, the president, you get millions and millions and millions of dollars in donations from these very wealthy donors or corporations. And that's a big problem, because if I run for office and I get millions of dollars in donations from some of the richest people in the country or some of the richest companies in the country, when it comes time for me to make important decisions, I'm going to look to help those people who donated money to me, and not the average person like a teacher or an average government worker. And so that's a big problem in United States politics right now, is that these politicians get so much money from the top 1 or 2% of the wealth in America, and they're not as concerned about the average person's problems. Right there you see in that cartoon says campaign finance reform. I don't hear any public outcry for it. That's because many politicians are reluctant to reform campaign financing because they benefit personally from this current model that we have. And I can tell you right now that's going to be on your test. That's a question right there. Just in 2016 alone, I know the candidates raised over $1 billion combined. That was 4 years ago. I'm guessing this year it's going to be close to that. So, and that's just for the presidential election. So there's just millions and millions and even billions of dollars spent on these campaigns. I have here, it's regulated in quotes. It's not really regulated. They say it is, but it's not. Marketing. Like I said earlier, these candidates are trying to sell themselves to you, just like you would buy a product in the store. They're trying to buy your vote through marketing, the process of the candidate selling themselves to the public. Certain attributes appeal to the American public. If you're running for office, you can't go up there with like a hoodie on, right? You always see these candidates dressed very nicely in some sort of business suit. There's millions of dollars spent on ad campaigns. Right there in that cartoon, you have a guy saying your bones are too big, your voice squeaks, you got dark facial hair. Let's face it, pal, you're a loser. And he's saying it to Abraham Lincoln, which is one of the more famous and successful presidents in American history. And this cartoon's essentially saying that, the qualifications for running for office have changed. Now your appearance matters more than ever. Which brings us to our last slide here, propaganda. These are strategies that candidates use to market themselves. And it's also, propaganda is also common, again, amongst products, like I said earlier, Nike, McDonald's, Gatorade, whatever. There's several different types. We have glittering generalities, positive short phrases, mudslinging. You see a lot of that where they attack each other through commercials. Plain folks, making candidates look like an average person. Right there on the right, we have on the top there, it's kind of blurry, but you have George Bush in his campaign run in the early 2000s, got a little cowboy hat on, sitting in the back of a pickup, looking like an everyday blue-collar American, when in reality, the dude is very, very wealthy. And then below that, you have Barack Obama eating at like some average-looking diner, drinking out of a plastic cup. You know, the dude's riding in limos that are bulletproof. He is not the everyday average American, but they want the people to see them like this to make them more likable and more votable. And then also there's testimonial. That's when you have endorsements from celebrities or well-known people, which is also very common. Which that, I believe, is our last slide, which takes us to the second part of your assignment. After you're done with the notes, you're going to go to this second page of the worksheet, and you have 4 types of propaganda that we just talked about. What you will do is go to Google and pick all 4 of those. We'll do one at a time and look up examples. So we'll look at glittering generalities. I'll go to Google, search glittering generalities. It gives you the definition here, but if we go to the image, I have all of these examples. So I would take this McDonald's one looks good. You see it says creamy, dreamy, icy, chocolatey, mochas, and obviously it makes you want a nice ice cold mocha from McDonald's. I'll copy and paste it in here. Should fit into that box for me. Obviously it's large, I can downsize it, but then make sure you type in the reason this is glittering generalities is because blah blah blah, and then you'd explain that. That's all you have to do. Make sure you submit this by Monday, October 26th, and I look forward to seeing you again in class.